Alrighty, here we go. Aloha, aloha everyone out there, Hawaii fans, Hawaii people on lockdown, Hawaii people sheltering in place, and all our friends and family around the world. Welcome to another UH football fan stream here at Hawaii Sports Fans. I'm so excited to be joined by four brand new victims. I mean, just friends and panel members as we talk about the things that we love, Hawaii football, meaning being at the top, obviously. So I'm going to start by letting them introduce themselves. Some of them know each other already. Some of them have a history. Some of them you probably recognize. I know somebody that you recognize for sure, and I'm going to let her introduce herself first, and that's Gwen Nakamura, the legendary band director at the University of Hawaii in Manoa. So, Gwen, aloha.
Aloha, everybody. How's it going? Go Bulls. I'm Gwen Nakamura. I'm with the University of Hawaii Band. I'm actually the assistant band director. You might see me at football games or pit band games, at the arena volleyball and basketball games. So, love it. Go Bulls.
Well, Gwen, you know, we see you with your tambourine going, and talk about, when did you bring that out? I want to know the story behind the tambourine, because I feel like if you're not holding it, I don't know if it's you or not.
I don't know. I think the tambourine started because everyone's playing an instrument, and you know, it seems kind of like weird if I was like standing there conducting, that stuff, you know, and it's more fun to actually be a part of it.
Yeah.
And play and do something. So I was like, hey, I'm here, let's just grab a tambourine.
I love it.
I grabbed the tambourine and I just started playing and dancing with it. So I just kept it going, and I've broken so many tambourines over the years. So I don't know which tambourine I'm on now, but
broken over somebody's okole, or just broken because you're hitting them too hard?
Just all the
just making
little
sure.
things flying around and stuff. So anyway, it's a lot of fun to be a part of it.
Well, another thing that we see you with are these very elaborate balloons that everybody wants to have on their head, but the guy that actually provides you with his artistry is also joining us today, and that's Keith Takeda. So, aloha, Keith. How are you?
Oh, hello, everybody. Yeah, my name's Keith Takeda. I was in the band a while ago for a good 5 years, during the wonderful Von Oppen years. Some Bob Wagner. But yeah, I don't want to totally take credit for the balloons. Another student's dad that was doing it for a while, and then he couldn't do it for a little while. I mean, couldn't keep it up. So Gwen knew I made balloons, and I've been doing it ever since. I don't know how many years now.
Well, it looks like you could be like are you professional, or did you learn the craft? Because you have like the rainbow one is really cool that I always see you make, where it's like the 4 things and you put on the head. So that's basically my order, just putting it in there. I mean, I don't know when we're going to be back to watch a game, but that's my favorite. But that's Keith. You probably see him at every basketball game too, see him on the road. A huge supporter of UH athletics, like everyone on this panel, but also a former student, alum, and that's so important too, to keep our alums and keep them engaged. And Keith is setting the example there, along with another former band member and somebody that I'm happy to say I got to go on a tour with. She came with me to Super Bowl 54 in Miami, and that is, of course, Brandy Pang. How's it going, Brandy?
Aloha, guys. I'm Brandy Pang Brookman. I'm a long-time UH fan, been a season ticket holder since I was in elementary school, and like Keith, I was in marching band for, I guess, 3 years, because I was rejected the 4th year and helped Von Appen on the field instead. But anyway,
Interesting. Wait, you have to tell us that story. What is that story? How did you help Von Appen?
So I actually, that was before they had the cordless headphones. So I was actually helping the running back coach.
Oh.
And I had surgery on my knee that summer, and Dr. Bingham said I wasn't allowed to be on the field because of my surgery. So
wow.
So Von Appen heard about it, and he invited me to help out on the team instead.
That is so awesome. That's a good story. That's a good story for Fred Von Appen. Thank you, Fred Von Appen, for allowing Brandy that opportunity. It's funny. So Brad's probably watching it. I always mention Brad, one of my friends from small kid time, that we used to go to games, 5th, 6th grade. So when we were at Von Appen, we might have been in that grade when Von Appen, but him and I would go by ourselves. My parents would drop us off at the stadium, and we would sneak on the field After we would ask the opposing team to give us their passes, and we were like 9, 10, I don't know how, and they would give us their passes, so we'd jump on and go into the locker room and stuff. It's so funny, but that's where I want to stay with Von Up, and I want to stay with the positive memories for sure. But this program has so many different periods and so many eras, and everybody can relate so differently to each one. And this guy right here, he knows a lot of the history of UH football as well. He's joining me on the mainland right now as well, and that's Cisco Flores. Aloha, brother Cisco. How's it going tonight?
Okay, well, first of all, I don't have a beer in my hand, so it's not fair.
Yeah, I'm like, is that Cisco? Is that Cisco?
So, I don't know. I'm going to just say my claim to fame, and I have to give it up to my brother Daniel, because we ended up meeting one year at a Fresno tailgate, just us and a whole bunch of us, and we just kind of made it a yearly thing. We kind of got this whole Facebook tailgate thing going, and my first UH game was, I think, about '86 when they were playing at San Diego State.
Really?
Wow. After that, it was off and on, and finally kind of got something actually going. Social media helped, but other than that, I mean, it's kind of nice. I kind of enjoyed the experience. I've met a lot of really great people that become, lifelong friends. Look at Wayne. Where did I meet you, Wayne? Ohio State?
I think Ohio was the first time, at that tailgate, yeah.
So I'm the one who makes weird comments. Yamamoto, if you're watching, I'm going to say something about you.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's going to challenge you for the weird comment. I know right now he's like, brah, you don't know any kind when I say so. Yamamoto's, shout out. Daniel Ing, shout out. These guys are all big supporters as well, and you see them with Cisco. They're tailgating. They got their barbecues going. They got the liquor flowing, so it's a great time every time, Cisco. But talk about how you guys met each other originally.
At Fresno State. We just parked alongside of each other. They said, "Hey, you want tailgate?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I guess so." And we've never left.
Wow.
Yeah, we've become really good friends. But I really got to give it up to Tom Kitaguchi, because he's done so much for all these road games.
Yes,
I mean, he just puts out the money like it's nothing. And I asked Tom one time, you know these people and you trust them? They're gonna pay you back. So other than that, it's just a great experience.
Yeah, we're gonna aloha to Tom Kitaguchi. If road games, the big runs, he always gets a bunch of seats next to each other. Up to, I think we had 500 next to each other at Washington last year. So it's always great to see people on the road, to continue to foster these relationships, because we all kind of overlap in terms of like the eras that we started following UH football and our experience around the game and at the school. I'm not an alum, but I always appreciate the the perspective of those who are on the campus, who understand that. So we're going to talk about that as well, because students are something is of a bit of a how can we say this? It's not easy to get the students to the game sometime, but all together, and we're going to move into our first question. And like I said, as you can see, there's a little scoreboard, and we're going to get into our fake points. They're pretty arbitrary, but hey, if I get inspired, I might give you a zillion points. We don't know. We're just going to have fun. But this is our first of 5 questions. Give everybody a chance to go around. Everybody will get a chance to start a question. The last question will be kind of a fun question, nothing too serious.
All of the above.
But all the above. Yeah, that number 5 was just all the above. But we're going to start with Gwen for this question, because it seems like every year, and you're at every game, so you see this yourself. But what do you think so we know that we have an issue with attendance. It's not something that is, a major scandal for us to say that. But what do you think the school itself can do, the number one thing they can do to attract more fans? What do you think?
I kind of think, sorry, my dog's barking.
No worries. He's answering.
She's cheering on the bowl. Anyway, I don't know if there's one thing. I think there's maybe a combination of things that maybe combine to do, combine. I'm not sure if it could be a combination of parking or maybe food things or just different things like that. I know they experimented with like starting the games at different times, because I remember when games started at 7, then I remember there was a few games that started at 5, and then there was games that started at 6, you know, and things like that too.
So out of all of those things, what would you say is like, if they were like, tomorrow, go to work on this. This is the one thing I want you guys to do. I think if you or Gwen was the AD, and there's only one thing, what would be your main task, you think?
Well, I think getting the game, I'm getting everything, you know, so it's more of, it's, the game itself is always awesome. You know, we love the Rainbow Warriors and things like that. But maybe it's something a little bit more entertaining as well, or a little bit more fun-packed as well.
Exactly.
I mean, there's a lot of announcements. There's a lot of, you know, promos and stuff like that. But there has to be a way to package it so that it's, you know, it's like more exciting.
Exactly.
Just more on the go and just more action. You know, things like that. Because there's a lot of dead time too, and you know, we want to keep the fans engaged. I think that maybe that's what it is too. Yeah,
exactly. You go to a game, you want to be entertained, period. I mean, even if the game is a blowout, one way or the other, you can still be entertained and have a good time. But Keith, you know, talk about your one thing that you would do if you could, if you're in charge. Number one thing.
Let's see. I think fans are just a generation nowadays. They're a little more ADD than previous generations. They need something happening like right now, or they're just going to look at their phone. You know.
But I mean, it doesn't stop you from coming. Well, I mean, you're from several generations. Of course, we confuse you with students all the time. But you know, you go to all the games. It doesn't stop you. Obviously, it doesn't stop us. We're all huge fans. So, is it just because? I mean, the casual fan, particularly, right? I mean, like.
Yeah, so I think you gotta, like, these students are like the future fans, correct? I mean, we can't just survive on locals.
Exactly.
I think you just gotta get something up, again, maybe put a poll out there to them, what they want, but we need something to hook them for at least a game or two, and then they realize, hey, this is fun, I want to go to all the games.
Yeah.
I mean, it's free, right? So, I mean, they have a reason to not go as well, but they're not spending money either.
Yeah.
But I think if you have one or two things that get them hooked, they'll keep coming back.
What do you think? What in particular do you think could get them hooked?
They already have the free buses, the free food. I don't know. It's a different generation. I'm not sure. I haven't been a part of that, or I've been gone to their tailgate to see what's going on. You know, so I don't know what they're actually getting for food.
Well, Cisco, we talk about, you know, the students, obviously, but that's a difficult one. But even just the rest of the stadium, and we had the joke about social distancing, and we hope that we don't have to implement that at the stadium with a normal crowd. But, you know, what is it going to be to get people to those days? You said 1986, those kind of crowds.
But I think you use what they have, and you've already proven it that, you know, you do your little Choo-hoo cam, and you know, it works. I think you reward them, or you give them some type of incentive if they're actually there at the game. I don't know. Maybe if they are students, you know, if they become that person with the best post while at the game, maybe they get some type of school credit. You know, maybe at the, you know, for books or something like that, or you know, it doesn't have to be. Big, but just to keep them engaged and involved. I mean, you know, their number one thing is, you know, even if they're at the stadium, it'd be hard to keep some of the younger crowd engaged because they want to be on their phone.
Yeah, and that's an issue. That is definitely an issue of being on your phone. I mean, it's an issue in the classroom. It's an issue everywhere.
There is light at the end of the tunnel, though, too, because, you know, you watch it, like, you know, if I'm watching, you know, here on the mainland, watching a home game, and I see how empty the stadium is. But then I go to a road game, and half the stadium is Hawaii fans. I don't get it.
I know. We played at Las Vegas every year. We definitely have that extra home game for sure.
San Jose's the same way.
But I mean, you know, what you said, talking about the students and credit, you know, HPU did that for a while. HPU had a whole student section. This is when I was, you know, working at the Pac West Conference, or I still am actually. Shout out to the Pacific West Conference Division 2. But you know, when HPU would have a soccer game, when they have a track and field meet, they'd have their student supporter group who was getting, I think, half tuition waiver, and you know, they couldn't be there and just be on their phone. They had to kind of, and be engaged in the game. And that was the incentive. Whether or not that's why they went, who cares, right? They added to the atmosphere. I never saw that many people clapping at a soccer game at Kualoa before, on the Hawaii Loa campus. So, I mean, if that's what needs to be done, that's an option. But, Brandy, what do you think? Number one, so there's a lot of things they could do. Everybody's we know that people have a hard time, right, staying focused. I have a hard time staying focused. But if you are the AD right now, what are you going to do? What's the first thing you're going to do? And you say you're hired now, and I want to my main objective is to bring the fans back. What am I going to do? So what do you think your first objective would be?
I think they need to change the television deal. I think that's key. I mean, people now they show the game live in movie theaters and everything. I mean, that's going to keep people from coming into the stadium.
So stopping just stopping pay-per-view altogether as well?
Maybe not stopping it. I think for people that are not local, that they could offer it, like the outer islands or even the mainland. But I do think locally,
black it out locally. You mean?
Black it out locally.
Yeah. No, I mean it's been done before, and it was something that once worked. And I think when we are talking about building our fan base, we also need to think about how we build our ohana, our friends, we're building at a level that's in Hawaii. We do things, we're very close to each other. We want to make this a very intimate affair for all of us. And I think when you are visible, especially as a team, because most people would have said winning, right? If I asked this question last year, all 4 people on my panel would have said, oh, you just win more. But now that we won 10 games, now we won double-digit wins. We had a great year in 2019, excellent year for us, one of the best years, and we had lowest attendance ever. So we need to figure out a way that we can capture, a lot of what you're saying, be entertained at the game, make yourself more engaged. But those things are all going to be obviously a challenge with with the stadium that we have currently as well, because a lot of people say, they just don't want to go to Aloha Stadium, which is fine. But in 2 years, as we know, or in 3 years, the plan is to open a new stadium. Keith is already laughing because he said when I said the plan is. But Keith, if and when the stadium opens in 2023, Ferd Lewis says we should be playing Albany to start. Who at Albany? He said schedule somebody good. So what do you say for that first game?
Am I muted? Not muted. I don't think we have a choice. I don't know. I mean, for us to get a big school to come here, that takes at least 5 years of planning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And who wants to come here? I mean, if our new coach, hopefully he does well and we keep winning, they're not going to want to be the victim for our first game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it'll sell out anyway, just because it'll be a smaller stadium.
Yeah. What about you, Chris Cisco? What would you say, Cisco?
Yeah, I'd say maybe a big West Coast school. Maybe someone other than USC or UCLA. I don't know who, but
that leaves Oregon, UW.
Yeah, but I don't know. It would probably, I don't know.
We'll talk about rescheduling in general. I mean, is that even a thing? Is rescheduling possible?
Either on the first game either.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think that's out of our control.
Well, Brandy, what do you say, Brandy?
I agree with Cisco. I think we should bring in a team. I think what we need to do is create another really big rivalry. Because, back in the 80s, it was like all the people would show up with their BPYU shirts, and the stands would be packed. But we don't have that kind of rivalry anymore.
Yeah.
And if we could create one of those, then that would be a good first game.
I like that.
Stadium.
That's right.
I'll start it at the tailgate.
Well, Gwen, what do you say, Gwen? What's your input?
Well, I think what he said, I kind of agree with. I mean, hopefully, no matter who we play against, the crowd is going to come out, want to see the stadium and create some kind of great environment, and that people will come. It'll be like the first game at the stadium. Let's go, man. And then I thought, well, it would be kind of cool if there was if there's a Hawaii quarterback playing out there, but at that time, 2023, that we could play against that team that has some kind of rivalry, and that that guy plays against him. I thought, wow. Have Dave Aranda come back and I mean, I was just like,
play Baylor, yeah.
Yeah, play Baylor, yeah. But you something like that. But like you said, no matter what, I think it'll be a cool game and a cool atmosphere just to be there and not have all that rust.
Well, what are you hoping for in the new stadium, Gwen, from the band director perspective?
So, I mean, I think I'll take it back to the 80s, because when I was first in the band in the 80s, 1980 to be exact, the band, now we sit in that north end zone section over there. Back in the 80s, we were like by the 50-40 yard line.
Wow.
That's where we used to sit. And, back then, the band could create a lot of great collegiate atmosphere in that area. And it was so cool to be over there, and just like you're really cheering the team in. You can really be, effective in that way and stuff like that. And that would be super cool if we could get, and then the fans around us, they can get into it. And I think that's one way that'll get people more excited too. I mean, if we're, getting the fans around us, because right now the student section is across the wedge from us.
Yeah, exactly.
And next to us, the overflow is next to us. But the next to us is all band alumni sitting over there. And stuff like that. They want to check out the band and stuff like that. So I think that would be something super cool.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. I think the band needs to be is a prominent part of the game. I mean, if there was no band there, everyone would be like, "Where's the band?" Everyone would be confused, And
I also think it would be cool. I mean, we started in the arena. It was like a band student who was just like, "Okay, we're gonna get everybody to sing the fight song along with us."
Yeah.
And it started a long time ago. Trombone player, and it's just picked up in the arena, and it would be super cool if there's kickoff, just every kickoff, everybody's standing up and clapping along with the score, and everybody's saying that would be so cool. I mean, just the whole excitement. That's one way to get everybody so excited and doing all that stuff.
I love it. Yeah, I think the band has done a great job of helping people learn the words first of all to the fight song, and that's so important to have those traditions and know the words. But one thing from that era as well, which we miss a lot, are the uniforms and the logo and just that era that it was captured in the rainbow. But throwbacks in general are huge everywhere. Everyone loves throwbacks. We had them. We wore them at least once a year with Chow, sometimes twice, and didn't wear them once with Rolo. So for you, Cisco, what do you think we should do with our throwbacks?
We probably should implement them on certain dates, and maybe find some of the most significant uniforms and use them throughout the year. I like whatever they wear. I don't care.
Well, that's true too. I mean, the reason we bring this up, you're right. A lot of people don't care, but a lot of people do care. A lot of people care what the team, the logo looks like. That's just the way it is. I mean, that's how people pick what they like. That's how people pick their favorite whatever. Or they go to gamble or something. They pick whatever. I mean, they pick arbitrary things like that, but they also will rock that logo. They'll also wear that around town. They'll feel proud in that. Kids on Twitter, when they announce their commitment, I see that rainbow all the time come out, and a lot of those kids didn't even get a chance to wear the rainbow uniform once. So it's definitely something that wasn't as big of a thing. Obviously, 20 years ago, we had a coach, Brandy remembers, that decided that he didn't want to be associated with the rainbow anymore. But what do you think we should do with the throwbacks, Brandy?
I would like to see it 2 or 3 times a year. It would be kind of cool to have it for like an opening game, maybe for homecoming, and maybe for senior night.
Yep.
I think that would be, great. I mean, I graduated from UH as a rainbow, not a rainbow warrior. So I still have my old rainbow gear, and I love wearing it. One thing I would like athletics to do better, though, is to let us know what uniform they're going to be wearing, so that the fans can actually get into it as well. If they were going to wear a throwback, I would like to wear my throwback as well. Instead, it's just kind of a guessing game of what color uniform we're wearing for what game.
Yeah. And you're right. I mean, it doesn't matter. We have great logo, right? I'm wearing my H gear right now. I got my H flag, but I rock my rainbow stuff all the time. H Zone has gone far enough to just tag me and stuff when they put out new H Zone throwback stuff. But you know, it captures an era. It captures an era that, you know, Gwen remembers pretty well as well. She said that, you know, being on the 40 and seeing the Bows play. And what do you think, Gwen?
I'm all for the throwbacks. I say at least once a season. I'm all for homecoming because, you know, that's when a lot of the alumni come back.
Yeah.
For everybody and stuff like that. And a lot of the alumni remember it is rainbows, you know, not as much as warriors, but, you know, and stuff like that. So I say at least for homecoming, if not, you know, it could be another game or two, whatever. But I say at least homecoming because it has a lot of meaning to alumni and, you know, bring back all the guys who came from before and stuff like that. I think that would be super cool.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that's a really great point as well. Bringing those alums back, bringing that feeling of what they experienced when they were players and when they graduated, and that identity that they have with the rainbow is so important to them, right? They say rain bros. You see our boys out there. Shout out! You better have some alums listening right now. But we know, you know, the faves that we see at all the games. They rock the rainbows every time. They love, you know, showing off their uniforms, and that era was so, you know, it sits in our head like the Al Nonga and all those famous players. You know, Michael Carter running, you know, whatever quarterback sneak in the Holiday Bowl. It's like that. That's where that logo takes you to. But for you, Keith, is it important for us to, you know, keep integrating the logo in, or so we're H logo now, so it's whatever, we move on?
I think with the new coaching staff, we have Victor Santa Cruz.
Mm-hmm.
Who's a pretty good defensive player.
Mm-hmm.
It's good to have a balance. I mean, the H is now, you know, the current, but I mean, we still got to draw on the past.
Yeah.
Again, that's where we came from.
Yeah.
That's what we remember. But yeah, it's got to be a balance. I mean, and it's a money thing too, I think, because we might not have money, I think, for both.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That might be the issue. I don't know what the real reason is. But
yeah, I mean, that's the reason we were told by the last coach that there was not enough money. But $50,000 was I believe the quote that he gave. But you think with our sponsorship deals and the fact that we were wearing them with Norm Chow, so I feel personally, I mean, especially seeing the white road uniforms get some love from the Athletic, and mind you, we only wore those uniforms one time ever, and they were recognized as the best alternate uniform, and that was 5 years ago. So how they remembered that from 5 years ago, that one game, and we played the number one team in the nation at their home, and it was 14-0 in the fourth quarter, and if we could have scored, we probably would have won, but I'm not going to go there. Because it was a great experience to be there and represent our school and represent our logo. And Ohio State guy with the nut or whatever they call him, he gave me a kukui nut version of their lei, and it was amazing. It's that exchange that we want to keep happening, and that happens when other teams can, you know, learn about each other and learn about each other's cultures and understand like what makes our programs unique. And I think that rainbow is really unique to us, and it's something that clearly has very pop culturally has a lot of references, so it can turn people off, but it's also 2020, so time to move on. But that's just something for us to have fun with. And Cisco's like, nah, I don't care, you can wear whatever you like, just don't even wear pads, huh, Cisco, just wear the leather helmets again. But we're gonna move on to the next one, because I think that also goes back to the fact that the game experience should include some traditions. Obviously, one tradition we know that we had before, well, I won't say it because I'll let you guys bring it up, but we've had game day traditions before, and there are traditions that we see at other stadiums. We see like the jump around in Wisconsin. I posted that video on Hawaii Sports Fans when we were in Wisconsin in 2015, and seeing their jump around between the third and fourth quarter. I went to South Carolina 7 years ago, and they did the thing where they turn the towels and forget what the name of the song is, but like all of these schools have, I mean, they're simple. Like they play a song and people dance or people jump. Like it's not hard. Of course, I love the Chihu. Like somebody brought up the Chihu Cam. You know, I'm a huge Chihu Cam fan. That's why I go live during the Chihu Cam every time. But what other traditions? We'll start with Brandy, what other traditions would you add to the game day UH game day experience?
You know, that's a difficult one because I have so many different ideas of things that I would like.
Bring them out.
to
Bring
see.
them out. Let's hear them.
So one of the things I wanted to see more of is more of like the high school bands. I remember when I was in high school performing halftime, but they don't have to perform halftime. I mean, it'd be cool just to bring in other groups to play along with our UH band. And even, you know, like I go back for homecoming every year for alumni band because, you know, that's the only time I get to really play my instrument, and I really enjoy doing things like that. What other things I would
well,
like
I mean, you mean bringing, and also just bringing those kids to the games will likely encourage them to go to UH and continue doing those things as well. I mean, it's so important to build from the ground up and build from the generations up. Because in 1986, I was sitting on my grandma's lap, but I was there and jumping around and barely coherent. But those are the foundation of my fanhood. That's the foundation of my madness of UH football. Is my grandparents, is my grandma, and her, her forcefulness about making sure that I'm there and continuing this tradition. And I those types of traditions of I'll talk about one tradition that she's always encouraged me with, and you guys know which one I'm talking about because we'd walk in with the last 3 Sunday newspapers into the game, so it's like a big thing of newspapers. But Gwen, are those kind of those newspaper confetti? Those are all different traditions, but what kind of traditions would you bring back?
Let's see.
Or start even. I think there's because I think the one doing the lyrics, you started that. That's a tradition that the band started. So
during the lyrics, everybody stand up during kickoff. Cheer along, do some kind of chant. Get the cheerleaders and everybody involved in teaching. It's a tradition. Doesn't start in one season. It starts in, it starts over many things. About this question, we're getting what that mascot is, but we've had so many different mascots. I don't know if you guys remember. We had the Marshmallow Man, etc. We've had so many different ones that were maybe not the best mascots, right? But maybe there's a mascot contest out there, or something that people could chime in on. And I don't know what that is again, but maybe something like that would be kind of cool too, to create a little bit more atmosphere.
I totally agree. I mean, that's important. Have the identity of a mascot, somebody there that goes out and leads the team out of the tunnel, is out there cheering on the sideline. We kind of had a mascot for a while with his drums, Keith.
Yeah.
What do you think about that, Keith? Do you think we should bring that tradition back?
Maybe if we didn't have to pay him. The one thing I did like from the child period was he with the band, they would drop the players off
the warrior walk.
Yep.
And do the
warrior walk
between the bands and get everybody hyped up. The players would be jumping around, the fans would be drinking and jumping around or eating or whatever. But I mean, right now I think they just come from the tunnel and walk across the field to the locker room, and they're focusing on the game and stuff. But you see a lot of other big schools where they do something similar, where they come out of the bus in their suits and they walk through the aisle and get all hyped up and stuff.
Yeah, I totally agree. And those pregame festivities particularly are what brings people to the game. I mean, there are people there at our week 0. I talked about this on Sunday. I met a few people who came for our week 0 Hawaii game just because it's one of the few games, so they'll fly to Hawaii that they won't have to miss their teams. And a lot of them came for something we used to do before the game, which Cisco remembers. But Cisco, what traditions would you bring back, Cisco? Or what do you think is important that we have? Because you want to go to a game and see things that college football is like screams college football. Like, oh, I'm here at a college football game.
Well, I think too, everyone just brought up all the good point about the music, but you could, a lot of teams, they fall in that generic, like, everybody knows what an AC/DC song sounds like. Everybody knows that intro. What if UH was to make it their own? There's a lot of island reggae
Agreed.
music that you could put actually another beat towards it. I mean, it's just something that you can incorporate it. So you already know, like during the kickoff, you're gonna hear this island reggae song that only comes from Hawaii. No, doesn't come from anywhere else. So I mean, that would be good, and then that everyone would know that song, and they know it stems from Hawaii. So that's good. And as far as a mascot, I would think maybe figure something out to instead of just having one dedicated person there. I don't want to say the word mascot, but maybe a student. Maybe some of the students, they do something to earn that privilege to be out on the field and represent UH like that.
Yeah, and I totally agree. I mean, that it is a privilege. It's something to be, right? You go to Notre Dame, if you're the Leprechaun, or you go to San Diego State and you're the Aztec or something, like that's a major position to hold as a student on campus, and it's something that requires a lot of work and the commitment, and it also, you're there to be a cheerleader. You're there just like, Mickey and Minnie at Disneyland, and you're supposed to be engaging people and creating atmosphere. But yeah, great points. And 2 years ago, 2017, we had Rebel Soldiers playing on the concourse. That was one of my favorite games for sure. I mean, going to watch Rebel Soldiers play on the concourse right above my seat, which was really cool, and get to have like an hour-long concert and then go down. I was like, that was amazing. It was so fun. And having Rebel Soldiers, one of the best bands in Hawaii, one of the most relevant bands in Hawaii, there as well. People that understand us, who we are, our program. I think that's what makes us unique. That's another part of what we talked about last week as well, is like leveraging what our fan base has, what Hawaii is good at, our art, and the things that are unique to Hawaii, and infusing that into our program, because that's the only way to show who we are, UH. We're not like anywhere else. And we talked about this a lot, about coaching at UH or working for UH. You're not just any job somewhere on the mainland. This is Hawaii. So our identity is really important. That needs to come through. But I'm going to move on to the fifth. And so every time, I'm going to let Gwen go first. So this is the one I did. I give these guys just backstage knowledge, but they do get a little bit of the topics beforehand, because I'm not going to put them totally up to whatever shenanigans I can come up with. But I do always have a fifth question. And last week we talked about what metal gold product you would save, and took me to the very end, and I had to hint that it was the donuts that I was looking for, but that's fine. So this week I'm just going to scrap all food items, because clearly we have different tastes, because not everybody's a sugar fanatic like I am. So we're going to go to this question, and I'll give you a little bit of time, but if you could change the result of any game in UH history, and now I'm going to let you pick, no, football, just football. If you could change the result of any UH football game in history, which one would it be? And because Gwen, and this as well, you just have to sell me on this. So you can't copy. If you copy somebody else's answer, you're gonna have to be really good. So I would say come up with maybe a game that we don't think about. Be creative. What game would you change, and why? Because it could be for any reason. So Gwen, we'll start with you.
I think there was a game when they were on the road. Was it the final game of the season? Was it against BYU? Now I can't even remember. If he had caught the football, we would have gone to what bowl game? Was it against BYU? Keith, do you remember this?
That was he dropped it in the end zone, right?
Yes.
Yes. Come on, our 80s people. I was a little child back then. I know what you're talking about. Who he might be?
Wide receiver. Shoot. His name just totally.
I know who you're talking about, though. Yes, it wasn't Walter Murray, though, was it? That he dropped. It wasn't him. It was.
Was it Walter Murray?
It wasn't Jasper, Ivan Jasper, somebody.
No, I don't think it was Ivan Jasper. But anyway, that one game for some reason comes to my mind because it was like, I think we were like watching that game on TV, a bunch of us, band guys, and we were like, oh, and then everybody was telling me I'm known as the Big Jinx, so for some reason, anyway. So they were like, leave the room now.
Get out
Leave
now,
the room
Gwen.
Now, get out now. And I was just there watching, and he dropped the ball, and it was like, see, we told you, leave the room now. But anyway, that one game comes to my mind. See, and I can't even remember the score, but that one game just comes to
That
my
was a moment, and I'm sure it's still a painful one for some people back then. But for you, Keith, what would you say?
I mean, the obvious answer would have been the Sugar Bowl.
Yeah, I think that's the obvious answer too. I have to say.
It is.
That was hard to take, but I would actually say this year,
Okay.
when we actually made it to the championship game for
Oh.
Northwest and back to Boise,
So the Mountain West game, you'd say, if you could change that one.
because Boise's always been up there, and we've had our chances, but we've never gotten to that game until this year. And to go back there a second time, not
Yeah.
I mean, our gear was great anyway.
Yeah.
But just to beat them at their place, to take the trophy away from them, I think. I mean, would have been. We would be like, yeah.
That would have been incredible. I agree. That would have been an amazing accomplishment and something that might have kept our coach around too. Who knows? So and or maybe he would have gone to a different school. Maybe we got to even better Pac-12 school. So who knows that as well. Cisco, what would you say, Cisco?
I don't think it was a playoff game, but I'm probably going to need help with this because I know there's people that remember it, but it's when Brian Moniz was playing. We were playing USC, and I think we had that game definitely, and I think they took back a touchdown from us.
Yeah, it's 2010 you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Greg Salas had a good game that I think we lost like by 10 points, maybe. Or
Yeah, I think Moniz got injured in that game.
we had a goal line stand, which was really good.
We were hanging with SC, and I think that would have really I would have loved to hang a W on them.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that would have been a huge win for McMacken, obviously at that time too, and it's hard. That era was such a there's so much that we did accomplish. We forget like we were actually not bad. I mean, his worst year we were 6-7, right, and we got rid of him. Then we got worse, but so many opportunities to build off of the Sugar Bowl and that experience. Probably we scrapped. But Brandy, what would you say, Brandy?
We had that stretch of road games where we played Ohio State. I think it was Michigan and Wisconsin. I would have loved to have won any of those games.
Pick one and tell me which one.
I know. I would go Ohio State.
Yeah, I agree.
They were ranked one, and it would have put Hawaii on the map. I mean, people don't give Hawaii credit for the players that we have, and I think that when you have schools like Ohio State or LSU, Alabama, I mean, winning against a team like that would definitely have been something to remember. And so I would say the Ohio State game when they were ranked number 1.
Wow, all good choices. I'm gonna let you do your second choice now. Gwen, give us your second choice, Gwen.
Oh my goodness, second choice. Ooh.
So much pain back then as well. So you had to dig deep into some of those painful moments when you had to.
Probably any one of the games that we had in the run-up. any
Just
one
one.
game. Any one game.
I remember a game. I remember we were playing. It was like Southwest Louisiana State, who I believe is Louisiana Monroe now, and they ran a hook and ladder on us at the very last play to beat us, and that's what I remember about the Von Hoppen era. Just that play, and I was like, "This is the play. This is the essence of this season, 0-12 season for sure."
Any one game would have been awesome.
What about you, Keith?
Probably like Brandy said, one of those big away games. But I actually went to Alabama when we played there.
Yeah. 2006. So 5.
That would have been amazing. Just to be in Bryant Denny Stadium with 90,000 people, quiet.
And we should have won that game too, actually.
We got a lot of respect from them.
We did. I think Rega Mauia fumbled the ball. I remember that. I was there too. I was by myself. I didn't know anybody, but they were very nice. I was in college and I flew down to Tuscaloosa, and they, Tuscaloosa is a really cool place and really fun. And it's crazy now that they have Tua over there, or now Taulia is their new quarterback. But that, like Keith was saying, we were getting respect. People are talking, people are really nice. Of course, it was a different era of Alabama. This is them coming off of the death penalty. But still, that would have been a big game. To beat a SEC team on the road would have been huge. And we'll have a chance to do that against Vanderbilt in a couple of years. So hopefully we do get that chance. And it's possible. I think somebody beat, who was it? Somebody beat Purdue or something. Somebody in our conference, Mountain West, beat a SEC. Or was it Vanderbilt? Didn't somebody beat an SEC team in our conference this year? So definitely possible. And definitely will get you a lot of consideration for the bigger games. Boise does it every year. They still play a pretty great schedule, and they keep their recruiting high, and that's important. When you win those big games and people associate your program with that, when you're the Gonzaga of basketball, it's crazy when you think like only the big schools are supposed to have all the best players, and only the big schools are with all the money. But sometimes it's just some of these moments in these schools' histories that capture the attention of the whole country. But for Cisco, I know he's been to a lot of games that he wishes he could get the result back on, because I was there with him for some of them as well.
I think I'm going to agree with Brandy. I'll put it on Ohio State. First of all, only because of the fans. I couldn't expect a better crowd of. I mean, they opened their doors. They had so much aloha there. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, they just said, don't mention the other teams.
Yeah, I mean, I know. Don't say the other school. Yeah.
They had so much respect for Hawaii. Even, in halftime, they were like, "Oh, I can't believe how good your team is." And, I remember when Melvin Davis started mowing some of them guys down, they were like, "I didn't know your team was that strong." So, I wish we won at Ohio.
Yeah, that would have been a great game to win. Because we were close. We were in striking range, in the fourth quarter, and the defense had played so well. Schroeder wasn't terrible, but it was just hard to just that Ohio State. I mean, they had Ezekiel Elliott, they had Joey Bosa on that team. Let's be honest, that's one of the best teams probably in Ohio State history as well. They're number one coming into that season. So these are all moments. I was there in 2008. I wish we had beaten Tim Tebow as well in Tallahassee or in Gainesville, I mean. But some of those games are only once you get a chance. You only get one chance in your program's history, and you got to take advantage of it. But, Brandy, what is your second choice, Brandy? What would you say?
I would say that Wisconsin game, the away game that same year, because we had a lot of injuries and a lot of our players didn't come back after that game. I would have liked to have a different outcome.
Yeah, that's true.
We didn't suffer so many injuries. Maybe the game could have gone in our favor.
Yeah, I agree. Well, let's go look. I'm gonna look to see what's going on at on our comments. But we're talking about Sean brought up what I talked about, the haka. The haka, nobody brought that up, I don't think, but that's literally what people will go to Hawaii games to see. I've seen it myself. Every time I've gone to UH game, I've always had someone ask me if we still do the haka. Every single time. Doesn't matter if we're in Albuquerque. Doesn't matter if we're in San Jose. People are there to see the haka. Whether we should bring it back or not, I'm not saying we should. I'm just saying that's definitely a tradition that was attractive to a lot of people. Sean also said it was Derek Branch that dropped the pass. So hopefully Derek Branch isn't watching, because we don't want to bring back bad memories. But, a lot of, Kaveh said last year, the Mountain West Championship, he would have liked that. Brad said the Sugar Bowl. Yeah, to me, yes, that is the easy answer, but to me it is the Sugar Bowl, because that was when, that was really the height of our program, the height of our popularity, number 10 in the country going into that game. It's crazy. I mean, I remember seeing that on ESPN thinking, man, I'm never going to remember forget this moment, seeing University of Hawaii's number 10 in the whole country. And had we beat Georgia, who knows what would have happened? We might have been this Boise State. We might have capitalized on that. We might have had June Jones, still stick around. So it's an easy answer, but it is, in my opinion, it is the answer. It's really going to be one of those things that we look back with will give us, I think, mixed feelings, because it was such a great experience and it was so fun to be there in New Orleans, and everyone was so cordial and so nice, and all the the stores love the Hawaii fans more than the Georgia fans, of course. And it that's what it was like. That's the feeling of being at the big time, and seeing teams like Boise do this pretty often tells me we can do this. If a team from Boise, Idaho, can keep taking teams to that that tier, I think we can do that as well. But let me give it any final thoughts. So Gwen, any final thoughts you want to add? Things you want to get off your chest?
Let's see. So in 2023, when the stadium, when hopefully the stadium is done and we have our first game, it'll be a big I'm just getting it out there. It'll be a big celebration for the band too, because the UH band will be 100 years
old.
So it'll be a big celebration that year, for a lot of reasons and a lot of different things. So it'll be super cool. And we hopefully, we're going to be planning from now to have some kind of big celebration that year going on. Maybe even new uniforms or something.
That's right.
But that would be like super cool. I think that would be such a great hype for everybody.
Yeah. What about you, Keith? Anything else to add, Keith?
We're all kind of crazy super fans here.
We do.
We're going to go to every game anyway.
Yeah.
But I'm just hoping, like you said, we can get more of the younger generation on their phones and video games or whatever to experience, coming to the stadium like we did.
Yeah.
And somehow hook them to, think about going to more games in the future when they're older.
Exactly.
When they have kids, because the fan base has to keep going somehow.
Yeah. We're literally hemorrhaging fans at this point, and there's no stop. It's like every year it goes down, down, down. I quoted this stat every time, but it's like in Norm Chow's worst year, in his last game, which we finally won, going into 0-11, we had 25% more people there at that game than we did for the San Diego State game last year, playing for the title. And to me, that's unacceptable. I think, especially in one of the biggest games in our program's history, it needs to have more than 22,000 people. That's just unacceptable. And that is something that needs to be worked on. That's something that the school needs to tackle, is getting people in the stands, period. And obviously, all streams of revenue are important. And we're not even talking about the revenue or the finances. We're talking about the support, the moral support, the fan support, being in seeing not just a bunch of orange seats that are open, but supporting our players, especially when they win 10 games in a year. And they deserve to have more people last year. So still a little disappointed about that. But yeah, it requires building up the next generation. And Cisco has a grandson that he's already building up for to be the next big UH fan. But Cisco, talk about what's your final thoughts as we go out.
I gotta say, I give so much respect for the people that actually take the time to go to the game and see the game and support the players and go on these road games and do what they do. Wayne, you're out there, on a constant basis. A little story real quick is my daughter and I, we went to the San Jose game. Everybody remembers that game, and it was raining all three quarters. It was horrible, but we ended up winning. Mm-hmm. But the next day in the airport, me and my daughter were walking, ready to take our flight, and I want to say, I'm got to try to remember the parents' name, but they were actually military from Maryland, and their son was a wide receiver, and they actually came up to us and they really thanked us for coming out, supporting the team and supporting their son. So, Hawaii football is a totally different animal. You can go to a stadium that has 90,000 people, mm-hmm. but guess what? You're not that one-on-one with the parents, with
Yep.
their immediate family members. When you're in the stands at a Hawaii game, be careful who you boo, because
that's right. That's right.
But it just amazes me that every year I go to a game, I have to add more friends to my contact list, because it's just great. The Aloha
mm-hmm.
Spur is just awesome.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think you're right. And that's one thing too. We have to remember how special our program and different. And a lot of that is just because of where we're from. And that's why it's important to remember who we are, our culture, and always have that associated with our program. But Brandy, what do you got to say, Brandy? What's your final thoughts, Brandy?
Well, I just want to say, that I'm excited for this new year. We have new coaches. We have an awesome recruitment class. I hope that people out there will want to come out and support our new team, our new coaching staff, and hopefully we'll create a new rivalry and keep the fans going. But I agree with Gwen. I think that the band needs to be front and center with the fans, not on the side. So
I totally agree. I totally agree. And our band is important, and we love them. And we're going to give our assistant band director, Gwen Nakamura, the final word. And Gwen, just thank you for being here as well. And just talk. What do you want to share with us? We're going to give you the floor, Gwen. Go for it.
Well, I just want to say that let's go Bulls. I mean, let's fans get out there, get your season tickets, come out and support the team. I mean, every little bit helps. And I agree, we have a young generation. Let's get them out there, because eventually that fan base is going to be the future. They're going to have kids, et cetera, and we have to carry on this great tradition. I mean, in Hawaii, it's so awesome that we all get to be a part of this. And I mean, we want to support. You don't realize how much athletics means to you when you have this COVID and you're sheltered in now, and you have no sports going on. I'm just like, I was just dying for volleyball or for and stuff like that. I have on my ice box, I have the schedule, and it hasn't come down yet, because you just miss it all. And so I hope that the fans will come out and cheer our boys on, man.
Yeah, I think that's important. I think that's what else can we say but come out and support the boys. Like, you're supporting our family, you're supporting our friends, you're supporting those people that represent us. And that's the thing about being Hawaii football. That's what makes us unique, is because they represent us. They represent Hawaii. So on behalf of Gwen Nakamura, Keith Takeda, Brandy Pang Brookman, and one of my best buds, Cisco Flores, I'm Wayne Cueto. So saying we'll see you next time on Around the Wayne. Take care, everyone.